First tier that I have is Twisted AF. This one goes for the ladies that are just really deranged, that I would not personally want to confront, that I think as a character in the film, I would not survive. I think that one's pretty self explanatory. The next one that we have is A Fun Time. These ones are solid, unhinged female villains that I think are just comedic and fun to watch, and I'd be cool with. Not necessarily that they'd be cool with me, they would probably kill me, but fun time. Pretty self explanatory there. Next one that we have is Tragic. I think this one is kind of a dual thing where you have ladies that have a tragic story, but then you also have ladies that are kind of a mess, and you'll see what I mean as I go on. And then finally, we have Not Menacing. I'm not trying to be a douche with that one, but these are the ones that I personally think aren't as intimidating as others that I think I could potentially survive the situation. Without further ado, let's just get started. The first one that we have is Amanda from Saw 2. I think she's kind of tragic, in my opinion. If I were to place her anywhere, it'd probably be in Tragic, just because she survived an ordeal and then she becomes John Kramer's protege. But I just don't like Amanda. I mean, she is pretty twisted, but she's not a fun time, in my opinion. I do think she is slightly menacing in some regard, but I feel like I could put her in top tier just because I don't know if I'd survive, because the problem with Amanda is that she makes her traps unbeatable, unwinnable. So I do think she's more sadistic than John Kramer or Jigsaw. She ends up dying in a Saw 3, obviously for like hubris or too much arrogance. So another point that I wanted to make at Saw 2 is probably my favorite film out of the entire franchise. I don't really care for the franchise as a whole. Kind of a tragic person, in my opinion. All right, so let me see if I can resize it correctly. But let's move on. So next we have Sarah from Starry Eyes. This movie actually really impressed me because I wasn't expecting to like it, because it took a while for the horror to ramp up, and it is considered more of a horror drama. But Sarah personally, even before she transforms, when she goes to this audition, people turn out to be like this cult, satanic cult. She's kind of off. Like when things don't go her way, she starts ripping her hair out and goes into like this fits of rage. So I'm trying to think, where would I place her? I don't know. Would she be menacing? I think towards the end she could be considered menacing, because yeah, the way she kills her group of friends, she is tragic. Yeah, because her need to become, she's like this young starlet. She wants to break into the industry. She wants to become an actress, and she will do anything to achieve that. So I think it's kind of tragic in a sad way. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her next to Amanda. God, I'm already starting to feel that tear right there, man. But yeah, underrated movie, I think. If you haven't watched Starry Eyes, definitely give it a shot. I really like it personally, and that is definitely not a line, but we'll try our best. All right, so who do we have next? May. Oh, I like May. Okay, so May, my friend recommended that I watch this movie. I've never watched it before until recently, and I actually really like it. I think it is more of a horror drama, similar to like Starry Eyes and another one on this list further down. May is kind of a fun time. I mean, she's very misunderstood. I mean, what she does at the end when she's sewing the body parts together to make or create her own doll, she's pretty twisted, but I actually really do like May, so I'm going to put her in a fun time. She's just really misunderstood. Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel bad for what she does to the guy. I don't really feel bad for what she does to most of the characters in the movie. Next, we have Marie from High Tension. Oh, this one's an interesting one. I've always loved High Tension. I watched it years ago when it came out. The twist, I know it's not for everyone, and I think without that twist, it would have been an awesome standalone, slasher film. But then it adds the twist at like right at the very end, and it throws you off a bit. But I would say the final moments when she just reaches out with her hands handcuffed like she knows Alexia's there. Yeah, I had to put her in Twisted AF. Twisted as fuck. Because her methods, what she uses that Saw, certain other weapons that she uses, I don't know. I don't know if I could beat her, honestly, because she's pretty deranged. So I'm going to go ahead and place her there. Let's keep it going. We've got Maud from Saint Maud. I really do like this movie. I think visually it's so appealing. It's beautiful. even the shots where you're kind of discerning whether it's all psychological and in her head or if it's really happening the way things are happening, But the final shot of this movie where she is trying to basically transcending or going to the gates, the pearly gates of heaven, and she's going to go be with God and the angels. And in reality, it's like all these beachgoers are watching as she's setting herself alight. She's pretty twisted. Personally think she's not that menacing though. I think I could survive against Maud. I mean, as self-righteous and unsettling as her facial expressions are, I don't find her that menacing, to be honest, but not that menacing in my opinion. Good movie, but I just don't find her that intimidating. Next, we have Asami from Audition. Asami has always been one of my personal favorite female villains. This is one of my favorite movies, like ever. It's such a good movie. And when I watched it years ago, I was kind of in shock and disbelief at some of the scenes, especially with the person who's in the sack, who's missing his hands and his legs, and she vomits into the dog bowl and feeds it to him. It's pretty disturbing. Her methods, she's so methodical with her instruments and tools and how she tortures these men. She's like the ultimate femme fatale, in my opinion. And Asami is just badass, but also really creepy to follow. So, I mean, she's kind of tragic when you think about it too, because she was sexually abused as a kid, but as a little girl. But as she grows older, man, I personally don't know if I would survive against Asami because she is just, dude, no, would not want to deal with Asami. So I'm going to put her in top tier, twisted as fuck. Next, we have an OG, Pamela Voorhees. Strangely, I've never been a fan of Friday the 13th, the first one. I mean, it's a solid film, but it's never one that's like has that rewatchability like the other ones. I always go back to part 2, which is my ultimate favorite. Let me know if anybody else is also a fan of Sackhead Jason. But part 3 I owned as a little kid. That was the first movie that I actually purchased. Part 4, etc. I always watch those, but I never find Mrs. Voorhees that intimidating. I think she's a great, solid killer, but as you see, Alice is able to kill her easily. So if Alice is able to defeat her, I think I could pretty much defeat her because I don't find Alice as like a really iconic final girl. And most of the characters in the first movie just kind of annoy me to begin with. I get her reasoning. These camp counselors just going and caving into their vices and not paying attention to the little boy that's drowning in the lake. So I get her as a mother, her reasoning to a degree, but I just don't really find her that menacing. And please do not crucify me, anyone, please. Yeah, she's okay. I don't know. I just prefer when Jason's actually on screen because there are certain moments with Jason that I do find more terrifying. Next, we have Brenda from Urban Legend. I actually really do enjoy this movie. Brenda, I think she's kind of tragic in my opinion with what happened to her boyfriend, but I'm trying to think, where would I put her? I think Rebecca Gayheart as Brenda, she is very convincing. She is twisted. She is the definition of twisted. I understand her reasonings to a degree, because she lost someone that she was in love with. Do I find her menacing though? I'm questioning myself where to put her. I'm gonna put Brenda and Twisted AF. I think she definitely belongs in that spot. I think she has her reasons. I mean, damn, she's pretty convincing and manipulative. So that's my reason for putting her there. All right, next we have Baby from House of Thousand Corpses. So obviously, I love Rob Zombie. I know that's kind of like a hit or miss with people, and some people are not excited about the new Monsters movie. I haven't watched it, obviously, because it's not out, and I'll be the judge for that once it does come out and I experience it with my own eyes. But, I love his movies. I love his music, and Baby specifically, Baby Firefly and House of a Thousand Corpses, she's just really entertaining. Like, I don't root for any of the victims in the movie. They're all kind of obnoxious and annoying, and I think they're written that way. But one of my favorite scenes is when the girl who's in the rabbit costume and Baby's going after her and just like starts stabbing the shit out of her. And she just has some of the funniest one-liners that I think she's just a fun time, in my opinion. I like Baby. So let's go ahead and put her in a fun time. She'll be right there with me. Please let me know if I'm making sense at all. Does anybody like the way I'm like placing these ladies? If you agree or don't agree thus far, let me know. All right, next we have Pearl from X. I did her so dirty with this image. This is like she's like in the middle of a climax. But I mean, she is kind of gaining or getting gratification from killing RJ. Badass scene, by the way. If you haven't watched X, really good movie. I actually just rewatched it for my film analysis for a paper that I did. I love this movie. Pearl, I find her tragic. I find her tragic because even though she is pretty twisted, she grew up in a repressed nation where at the time, societal norms of how women should behave, they were dictated and she wasn't able to fulfill the things that she wanted to in life. So for those reasons, I feel kind of bad for Pearl, even though I'm not justifying or excusing her actions, but yeah, man, like damn. And it sucks. I mean, she just wants some loving from her man and to kill a few people along the way, but I just feel kind of bad for Pearl overall. All right, next we have Lola from The Loved Ones. I already know where I'm putting her. Where I'm gonna place her is Twisted AF. I would not want to deal with her. This movie really threw me off because I thought it was gonna be a lot more cheesy and dumb, but it was pretty violent and gory. I was not expecting all that. And just the relationship with Lola and her dad, I don't know if it's alluding to this, but it almost seems like they have this kind of incestuous relationship. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It gave me a weird vibe, weird feeling, really unsettling. She's not someone I would want to deal with. She is definitely just maniacal and crazy in my opinion. So no thank you. Mary Shaw from Dead Silence. No one kill me. This might be a controversial take, but I'm not really a big fan of James Wan. Did not like Malignant. Not a big fan of The Conjuring and et cetera, some of his other films. But I love Dead Silence. I remember years ago, they had this Mary Shaw like haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights. It was so long ago, though. Obviously, this came out in 2007. I personally, I don't want to deal with some entity, some hell-bent entity. And I personally like my tongue where it is, so I'm going to put her in Twisted AF because ventriloquist dummies, not for me. I don't want to deal with that, so she can stay right there. What was it? Beware the stare of Mary Shaw, et cetera, I don't remember the whole thing, but yeah, I think this one's kind of underrated in my opinion. I really like Dead Silence. Real quick, next one is kind of a spoiler, so be warned. This one that I included kind of gives away the whole movie because you don't find out until the very end. Sandy from Last Night in Soho. I already know where I'm going to place her. I already got it in my head. Tragic. I feel like she's just a very tragic soul just because she went with these desires, goals to be the singer, and she ended up getting used and abused just to get pimped out by this guy who was supposed to be her manager. And it's just tragic. I mean, she does become a murderer, but I feel bad for her overall. I mean, what happened to her, yeah, man. Really good movie, by the way. Really good movie. If you have not watched this film, I definitely recommend. Hopefully, I didn't just lose you guys with like, wow, you just gave a spoiler away, you jackass, which you don't find out until later in the film. I thought it was going a certain direction, and then it totally went left field. Like the whole time you think you're trying to find this killer who's still in the present time, but it's not who I thought it would be. So it threw me off. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit biased because I like Anya Taylor-Joy and I just thought she was the helpless damsel in distress the whole time. And it just like flipped it for me. All right, next we have Annie Wilkes from Misery. I have not watched this movie in such a while, but I love this movie. For me personally, Annie Wilkes, man, she would go in a fun time just because, hey, who wouldn't want to be pampered and taken care of, despite her being the reason why he's in that situation. Her obsession, I think I would put her in Twisted as fuck because honestly, there's one particular scene in the movie, if you guys know what I'm talking about, his foot or his ankle, what she does to it. You guys should know, I don't like that. I do not like pain in the foot area. Hostile, Achilles tendon. No, thank you. That just looks so painful. So I would not want to deal with her, especially if I'm like bedridden and can barely move. I mean, I would probably find a way. I would find any way to escape, but she's just not someone that I would want to deal with. There's another character that has a similar quality to Annie Wilkes, stalker type mentality that's just, I find creepy. There's like just a certain quality about that that's just really unsettling. But let's continue. Tiffany from Bride of Chucky. Oh, come on. This one's like an obvious one. Fun time. She compliments Chucky so well and she's so entertaining, and you're really just watching the movie for the two of them. You're not really watching for the other characters like Katherine Heigl. You're watching the dynamic between Tiffany and Chucky, which is funny, especially certain scenes where there's kind of like a domestic dispute and just watching like them bickering, like, you know, this couple and them being pretty twisted. But Tiffany is just a fun, good time. I love this movie. I mean, Child's Play 2 has always been one of my favorites, my actually personal favorite. But Bride of Chucky just goes right up there. I've always loved this film. And I love that it also features Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl. What's not to love? The soundtrack of the movie, it's just, they did an excellent job with this. Finally, we have, can you guess who it is? This one might throw some people off, honestly, just because I added her at the last minute and I think she belongs. It's another similar case to Annie Wilkes. That's Rumi from Perfect Blue, the only animated film on this list. If you have not watched this psychological horror thriller, definitely watch it, just because it was ahead of its time. And when you're following what's going on throughout the film, you're questioning your own sanity. This is one of those movies that really made me question my own sanity. Like, what is happening, and who is in the right, who's in the wrong, who is committing all these crimes? And it leads you down so many rabbit holes that by the time that you find out what actually happened or who's behind it, you're like, I still needed a moment to process everything. Menacing, yes, because I think she's really manipulative and she's so dissociated and really wants to be Mima. And it's just an interesting like sequence to follow where she's trying to kill her because she wants to become her. I'm gonna put her in Twisted as fuck. She is, yeah. It makes it even more twisted that I should have figured it was somebody close to Mima, but I didn't know that. Holy shit, that image looks huge. But yeah, I did not know that though. I was not at any point thinking that it was going to be Rumi. I actually really want to rewatch that movie. It's so good. If you have not watched it, definitely watch Perfect Blue. That was one movie that really had me scratching my head after when everything was said and done. Was that it? Okay. Yeah. So this is what I have. Let me know. I guess I really filled up that top tier. Let me know if you guys agree, what you guys think, if you guys like this format. I haven't been here for a while, but these are all the ladies. Again, none of them, not a negative thing, especially the two that I have in Not Menacing. That's not like me trying to be negative. It's just that these are the two in particular that I think I could probably survive. But yeah. Bye, guys.